My mic is muted. My mic was muted. The production manager muted me for the first time. But welcome everybody to the Predictive Playbook. I hope you enjoyed that introduction. I think it's pretty cool, especially to end on a Friday afternoon with all the great stuff that we have going on at this show. And we have Mad George from Mad George Sports. He's actually located in Greece, folks. So think about it.
Hello,
It's pretty
everybody.
late for him. Pretty late for him. And on
Not
a
that
Friday,
late.
doesn't look like he's been indulging either. But that's what our Manny's Pub is all about. It's guys getting together, and we're going to have some gals on too. Just hanging out for like an hour at the pub before we start our weekends. But it's on Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock, 4:05 Eastern Standard Time. And most of all, Mad George, is that this show, the last 12 shows, has produced a 30-10 record, 75% winners. You can't make it up. When you do it on video, you can't make up the record. It's about as transparent can possibly be. But we're grateful too. We don't want the betting guys to get fickle on us. But you're on a pretty good run yourself, Mad George, over at sportsmemo.com. I believe you're 10-2, 11-2, 11-3, something like that in baseball.
I don't want to brag about myself. I just want to say congratulations on the great job you guys have been doing. Been tailing your picks, making a couple bucks, and as far as baseball, this is the time to make money. Win now or go home, because these lines are going to get smashed very soon, as sooner we get closer to the playoffs. So congratulations to everybody, especially you, and then looking at some more winners today, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are going to have Rob Veno and Tony Finn on in just a little bit. They're probably finishing up some work and going to the fridge to get their beverage of choice. It's something we kind of do as a tradition here on Fridays, especially us guys that are on the East Coast. And you're on the way East Coast, George. You're so far east,
Yeah,
you're almost west.
it's a little bit too east. Yeah, you're right.
And welcome to the chat room. You guys have been great this week. The numbers have been going up like crazy. James McGinnis is in here just about every single day. New name, Jeff Swayze. It's nice to see you. He's from Argyle, Texas, he says. Glad to have him. And also Nick Lalek, who I have seen here before recently. I think he started probably this week or the previous week. So it's all good stuff. And I'm sure Max on record, it's only a matter of time until he pops in and bashes DeChambeau here a little bit. Let's see, what can we start with? Let's start with my baseball angle of the day, Mad George, and we'll tear this one apart. And this is having to do with the Cincinnati Reds and the Phillies tonight. 7:05 start. These are two teams that are definitely contenders in the National League. Cincinnati's about 8 games behind Milwaukee, but they're only 3.5 out of the wild card. Phillies are leading the Mets by a half a game and the Braves by 1 game. So what you're going to do here is we're going to be betting the run line with a road team, and the road team happens to be Cincinnati. And that team hit 4 or more home runs in their previous game, and the road team's installed as a plus 150 to plus 175 underdog on the money line, and the home team has a starting pitcher whose name is Zach Wheeler with a season-to-date ERA of 3.00 or lower. This has gone 12-2 in the run line for 86% winning bets over the last 5 seasons, making the $100 better 1,000 smackers just following these simple requirements. Doesn't happen too often, but it's pretty good system, and that supports the Reds plus 1.5 run line tonight in the city of brotherly love. What do you think of that one, Mad George?
You know what? I actually like it. I was looking at the Reds as a possible play. The only reason I stayed away is because Wheeler's been so good at home for the Phils. So I love that play as far as the plus 1.5. And if they can keep it close, get into that Philly bullpen, I think this has a great opportunity to cash.
I'm glad you're with me. It makes my confidence go up a little bit higher. And
I
the
do
Phillies
like.
one, go ahead.
Sorry, I do like the Reds. Lately, they've been super hot. I know they hit a wall going against left-hander a couple days ago. Not exactly sure who it was, but the Reds have been good, and they can hit. And anytime a lineup's not as top heavy as they are, you're always in the game.
It's true. That is very true. So let's take a look at the standings here in baseball. We have Tampa Bay is starting to stretch it out a little bit from Boston. Unlike the Mets collapse, I think Boston is not a collapse, and I think Boston is getting it together, and will ultimately chase down Tampa Bay. I'm probably one of the few guys that sees that happening. The Yankees are trying to turn on the Jets, 7-3 of the last 10. Their run differential is only plus 15. More startling is they've scored 487 runs, which is only 19 more than the Baltimore Orioles, and is, I believe, fourth worst in Major League Baseball for a total number of runs scored. It might be fifth now. They went ahead of Cleveland, who has 483. I think they just have too many holes, and even though they acquired all these great guys, one of them, Rizzo, is on the COVID list. So I just don't think there's enough time for them to close 7 games. However, they're only 2 games out in the wild card. I guess traditionally you don't want to play the Yankees, but they haven't won many World Series here in a while. It certainly wasn't like it was before in previous decades. Then, George, in Central, we have the Chicago White Sox, who are really becoming the dominant team in that division. 20 games over 500, 130 runs differential between runs scored and runs allowed. And they've had some tough, unfortunate, unlucky losses. They can easily be a 71-45 team right now and be 26 games over 500. But that's how the baseball drops once in a while. And they are the only team left that is above 500 in that division. And then out west we have the Houston Astros, which seem to be starting to rest players. And maybe that is a good idea, but now Oakland is within 1.5 of them, and they are the number 1 wild card team. So, 2-game switch here, and Oakland takes that lead. Suddenly, Houston is a wild card team. So I think they better pay attention here, because Oakland's on a 7-game win streak. And what else can we mention here? Well, the Phillies, Bryce Harper is suddenly, at least in my opinion, suddenly in the top 10 in most offensive categories, and is really hitting the ball not only hard but all over the field.
As far as
just sorry about that, my phone was just ringing there. And most of all, I think it's sustainable for him, because when he gets hot in previous seasons, it's usually been at the beginning of the season. This year he started out pathetically slow, and it's taken some time to gel. But Rhys Hopkins, who is out of the lineup, but he should be back, possibly sooner rather than later. And he's done a great job at protecting Harper in the lineup, and Girardi, the manager, has done a great job filling in that 4 slot with the best available player he thinks is available to protect him. They used Gregorius the one time, and then they used McCutcheon another time, and they're not 4 hitters, but it worked. And that was during that 8-game win streak. But the card tonight is only interesting from a series standpoint. The Phillies, let's take a look at their schedule, George, here. Because they have the easiest schedule down the stretch here after they get through this series with the Reds and then the Padres. Which the Padres are showing, cracks in the arsenal as well, so that might not be that difficult a series with them. But here in August, they're coming off losing 2 out of 3 to LA. They now play 3 at home against the Reds. Then they go on the road for 3 at the Diamondbacks, followed by 3 at the Padres. And then they come back for 2 at home. Yes, 2 at home with the Devil. Not the Devil Rays, the Tampa Bay Rays, and then Arizona. My schedule just disappeared. All right, here.
It's not a bad schedule at all.
Yeah, and then the Diamondbacks for 4. They played the Diamondbacks 7 games of the next 13, 12. 7 games against the Diamondbacks in the next 12. And the Washington Nationals are the 11th and 12th game. And they are clearly out of it as well. And then in September, it's more of the same. It's more of the divisional opponents, the showdowns with the Braves and the Mets, and that'll determine the winner.
You called it. You called there's a lot of value on the Phillies about a month ago. Got to give you mad props for that. You said that with the Grom going out, we don't know what the Mets are going to do. And then Philly made a run. I think Atlanta's still in it.
Oh, yeah. Atlanta's only 1 game out.
A lot of things have to go their way, and even though they don't have Acuna, they've rallied around, and that team has some playoff experience. So I'm not that surprised. I have to give mad props to Girardi, though. He's done a fantastic job with what he has, and the Phils are in it. I don't know if they can make noise in the postseason, but
yeah, no question. I'm just going to switch gears a little bit. I don't think this is a morbid topic, but it is the 26th anniversary, if you call it that, the 26th year since the passing of Mickey Mantle. And I know we have a lot of people that watch this show and know the name. I'm not saying you don't know the name, but I just wanted to kind of go over the career stats because truly, maybe he wouldn't have played the way he did on the field if he didn't have that fun that he had at night, and it's legendary. And if he was in this modern age of social media, it probably would have wrecked him. But in baseball back then, in the 50s and 60s, that was kind of a really good era. And I'll just bring him up here, and I'll give you his career stats because. When I lived in New York, I met him once at a steakhouse called Mantle's. And just the guy loved everybody. You know, it just was just incredible. Let's see. All right, where is he here? Well, bear with me a second here. Why wouldn't his name pop up on baseballreference.com? I mean, it's ridiculous. Well, anyway, well, we'll do it by the index. Thanks for bearing with me here. I figured I might as well do this.
Is that your only play for today, John? The Reds, or you got some?
I have
some other surprises for us later in the show or on your website.
Definitely later in the show. I have 3 for sale right now over at sportsmemo.com for $19, saving you $30. I have
that is a great deal.
Total and a run line. So yeah, there's a lot going on, and it looks like I might have another 5%er going tomorrow on the Saturday card. So that would be nice to see too.
All right, I'm trying to guess your run line game. I'm going to try to guess it. Looking at these games here, there's a couple that could be it.
They're not favorites.
I know that much. I know that much, John.
I cannot believe it. This is
Have
there it
you
is.
looked into the Dodgers Mets game at all today?
No. You have any thoughts on it?
I don't know. I just can't. It's a little bit too expensive for me. I can't lay that kind of money on the money line for Urias. It's 160 right now. Um, I know Mego. He got roughed up last couple outings. I just don't think the Dodgers are consistent enough right now with injuries, guys in and out of the lineup. They haven't really figured it out because once that team, they get any sort of rhythm, look out.
Yep. Yeah, the Dodgers, even though they're banged up, are still a team you really don't bet against, especially at home. I did find the mantle. So let's see, 5'11", 195, center fielder and first baseman. He was center fielder during the end of the Joe DiMaggio career and folklore. I guess it is fact; it's not folklore. But DiMaggio didn't like him. DiMaggio wanted nothing to take away from his ego and attention on him. But Veno was the type of guy that I actually can't remember the backup catcher's name to Yogi Berra, but he was African American, and back then they would go on the road, and there, believe it or not, were some restaurants that would not let him eat in the restaurant, and forcing him to go out to the bus. Veno went out to the bus and ate dinner with him every single time it came up and happened, so he wouldn't have to eat alone. And that's just an example, I think, of the type of heart this guy had. And, yeah, sure, everybody wants to say the alcohol and the partying and everything else that goes with it shortened his career, and had he taken care of himself a little bit better, who knows. But, the guy had a history in his family. I think it was Hodgkin's lymphoma actually stricken that family like you can't imagine. No male lived over the age of 45 until Mickey. And he just lived his life accordingly. Like I'm living my life like this is my last day on the planet. I mean, I'm sure he wasn't thinking that, but he lived life clearly to the fullest. So 1951 he comes up, and if I'm right, Mad George, he was brought up in 1951, and then actually was given the number 6, I think. It was one of the ones that was available between the Hall of Famers, and there was so much pressure on him to be everything that he was written to be, and it didn't go so well. And he actually did get sent down to the minors, and then came back up. And when he came back up, it was lights out. And I obviously never saw him hit a home run. You can watch it on film, but I would have loved to have been at a game live and just hear that bat, because he was a switch hitter and had power from both sides. Like, I can't think of another switch hitter since that could do what he did. It was truly incredible. But for his career, is one of the best WARs of all time at 110.2. He had 8,102 at bats, 2,415 hits, 536 home runs. Was batting 300 until the last month of his career, went down to 298. 1,676 runs scored, 1,509 ribbies, 153 steals. And that's another thing about him. He was one of the fastest guys from the right side of the plate, literally in the history of baseball. I think it was 3.1 seconds from on the right side of home plate when he was batting lefty. He had tremendous speed. And on base percentage for his career, 421. I don't think there's anybody in the league right now at 421. slugging 557, OPS 977 for his career. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But I thought I'd celebrate his life with just a little biography of him. He's one of those guys. You look back in history and you think, "Oh wow, I wish I was alive when he played." Like like a Joe Namath or something. You just had to see once or twice just to enjoy what they do. I'm going to shoot a message over to Rob and Tony because they usually pop on around 4:30. So I don't know if something happened.
I'm waiting for was it Mr. Finn that said Aaron Rodgers is done in Green Bay? I got to go back into that show and see who it is, but
I think it was me.
I think it was
me.
You. I have a 5% play for you then.
I think it was me. It was a gut feeling. Right. I just had a gut feeling he was done.
I know, but he is gone. He is gone. He's checked out. He's only playing one more game, one more year. So,
yeah, I definitely agree with that. In the meantime, while I send a message to them, I want you guys to listen to a video that was recorded earlier with Sports Memo and good pal Jimmy Adams, who's won over 61% of his last 112 Major League Baseball bets. So this guy is worth listening to, and it's a pre-recorded video, and I wanted to share it with you guys since he was unable to show up here at Manny's Irish Pub, and it lasts only about 4 minutes, so I hope you enjoy it. The house here from sportsmemo.com, one of the hottest handicappers on that site. He has won 61% of his last 112 Major League Baseball best bets. And can you imagine how much money that would be in your pocket if you would have gotten a season subscription? But it's not too late. You can get the remaining 45 games over there. And you can also get the weekend package, 7-day subscription. And you would be making yourself a very strong decision in doing so. So welcome to the show, Jimmy. How's it going?
Thanks, John. Yeah, things have been going good. We're cruising along in baseball, like you said. And we are dropping our first NFL preseason game tonight. We're going to have just as good a season in the NFL and college football as we've had in baseball, and we're going to give out a free play for one of tomorrow's games. So,
yeah, let's get right to it. We're in the NFL action, the preseason action. This will be the first time Cleveland and Jacksonville take the field, and it is in Jacksonville at TIAA Bank Field, where we're going to see Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence make their NFL debuts. What we've seen, too, is a major steam move of the Browns being opened as 4-point favorites. They now find themselves as 3-point underdogs. And, Jimmy, I know you know the reason why this is occurring, so I'll turn this over to you for your breakdown and where we should bet this game.
Thanks, John. So, yeah, major line move, and normally as a long-term bettor, you want to get the best of the number. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that at this point. That being said, if you can still get the Jags at -2.5, or lower on the money line, I still recommend a play. It's not too out of control at this point. I do want to stress the importance of taking the money line as the key numbers. 3 and 7, that sort of thing in preseason, they do not matter. There's no overtime. Always money line if you're laying 2, 1, 1.5. Never take that spread because it'll burn you. Anyway, so getting into the game, we have Urban Meyer coaching his first NFL game. You got to think he's going to want to set the tone for his team and start to develop a winning culture there. He's a guy that's not used to losing, obviously. Comes from Ohio State. New head coach for the Jags. He's not going to want to lose his first preseason game because he just doesn't like losing. Some coaches don't care in the preseason. Urban Meyer's going to want to get a win here, especially because he has a rookie quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall pick, that'll be making his debut. They'll want him to get off to a good start. Travis Etienne, teammate of Trevor Lawrence, is making his debut. All these young guys that we're going to want to instill in their minds, that we want a winning culture, set the tone. Over to the Browns side, Kevin Stefanski's already announced that Baker Mayfield's not going to play. And then there's a lot of beat writers in Cleveland that don't think that Case Keenum is going to play all that much either. So that leaves Kyle Laletta. Did I say that right? Yeah, Kyle Laletta,
Yeah.
I believe, out of Richmond, 4th-round pick, taking most of the snaps if you believe the beat writers and the information coming out of Cleveland. So this game doesn't mean very much to Cleveland. They think they're going to have a great year. They've got guys on the injury list. I can't see a lot of incentive for the Browns winning. I can see incentive for why the Jags would want to win this game. So money line the Jags and cash a ticket there.
Oh, I love this game, Jimmy. And what's great about these shows, I would not have noticed that as well as I did without your great breakdown. So guys and gals, make sure you go to sportsmemo.com and get that 4%er that he has going tonight. It's the first one that he's released this year, and it won't be the last. And do yourself a bigger favor and get the 30-day subscription. It doesn't cost that much money, and you're investing in yourself, and you're having a guy like Jimmy Adams work for you. And lastly, well, that was that show earlier today, and Jimmy Adams is one of the really good handicappers at sportsmemo.com, and he's been just doing well consistently the whole entire season. He had one run, I think it was 17 wins in a row. That was truly amazing because it actually got Marco D'Angelo's attention, who's one of the co-founders of WagerTalk. He has the all-time record, and I believe it's the all-time record at a casino in Vegas of 25 consecutive Major League Baseball wins. And what's more remarkable about it is not any of them were above minus 130 as a favorite. And he had a lot of slight dogs in that incredible run of 25. So that, too, is another guy you want to follow at WagerTalk.com, is Marco D'Angelo, one of the 3 co-founders. So in that NFL game, I like what he had to say, George, because
I might have to tail. I do not like the pricey money line. I'll tell you that much. Money line's a little bit too pricey for me, so I might have to lay the 2.5. But I love the breakdown. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's what he was referencing, is that because of the timing of our show, we had missed the steam move from the Browns favored by 4 to what it is now. But I've historically, I've been doing this 27 years. One of the first things I look at is the list of new coaches. And new coaches want to establish a positive culture because why are they a new coach? Because the previous regime didn't get the job done. Disappointed the fan base, left on a horrible note. So in comes the new guy, and he has to turn things around. And sometimes you have to turn it around quickly in the NFL because we know that little adage, the NFL stands for not for long. And that goes with referees, players, front office people, the whole works. So one job you can take in this world and know at some point you're likely to be fired, no matter how good you are. So when you have a team that is in that position, when we had the 4 weeks of preseason, if a first-year coach went 0-2 straight up and against the spread the first 2, that would be the beginning of a possible bet on that team because week 3 they want to lay it all out there like it's a real game, show the fan base that they can do it, and that hit at a very high level. Now with the 3 weeks, I'm not so sure how I'm going to have to adjust it. Does it take just one, or is it going to be the same? A winless new coach probably wants to win that last game as a dress rehearsal. And if they are going up against a Green Bay Packers, I forget who their quarterback is. Who's the quarterback for Green Bay again?
I don't know, man. So he's supposed to be a stud. I don't remember his name, but he's supposed to be really good.
Yeah, I guess he is pretty good. Aaron Rodgers, of course.
And he's not at all a diva. Not at all.
But he's not going to play a single down in the preseason. So if you get up against Green Bay, I don't know who these teams are going to play, but a team like that, then you're going to have a line where the winless team could be favored by 7. And it's not going to make any sense, but usually those games, the winless favorite in the last week, usually the last meaningful week, the dress rehearsal, they usually kick butt. And to the other team, it doesn't matter. Just like he said with Cleveland tomorrow with Jacksonville. Clearly, the game means more to Jacksonville. It's at home. It's in front of their fans. You got Urban Meyer, and you got well, at the end of the Friday show here, I just draw blanks. You got Trevor
Lawrence.
Yes, Trevor Lawrence.
Hey, since we're talking about Jax, sorry to interrupt you there. I just want your opinion on week one. Jax was. I think the Jags were 2.5-point favorites now up to 3. I know Tyrod Taylor he's a good quarterback. He can manage the game. I don't think that he's a negative when you handicap this game. You don't expect him to throw 3 picks. So I was just wondering what your take is on that game, because I feel like the public, especially if the Jags have a good preseason, the public might smash that -3. Might help it go to -3.5, -4, and then that's when you start looking at a game differently when you get the hook or when you get more than a field goal, right?
Yeah, and that's definitely the difference between preseason and regular season. Preseason has no overtime; they have to go for 2. So the number of 3 and 4 is critical. I think in an analysis I did for this season and. Talked with Las Vegas Chris of WagerTalk, who, by the way, was 2nd place and 5th place in the Circa Millions last year. I think about $1.2 million the poor guy made. And the joke around the shows is that he can't find his checks, but he displays the big cardboard checks. He displays them in the background that the Circa gave him.
All right.
But he came in 2nd. They had to wait till the final game to determine who was going to win. So I can't even imagine. But anyway, the number that's really going to, I think, crop up more and more this year is 7. Because, you're up, say you have a favorite that's winning 24-20 going, with 3 minutes to go. So they kick a field goal and say they're favored by 6.5. So they're up 26-20. I kind of blew my example, but 26-20 is a 6.5-point favorite where they could have gone and scored a touchdown. So now you're dealing with 6, 6.5, and 7. And say the opposing team does whatever. If they score, they're going to cover. If they don't, then you're going to lose.
You lost either way. You lost either way.
Right.
We went 26-20 -6.5. You're done unless you get a pick 6. That has to be super lucky. I don't know, but yeah, you're done. Sorry to break the news to you.
And that has been one of the faults on Tomlin of the Steelers. Tremendous coach from Monday morning to Saturday midnight, but in game has been a real question mark on him. And I think pretty justly so. There was that one playoff game where they had a 4th and 3 or 4th and 4, and didn't go for it and punted down the ball at the 7-yard line. I can't remember who the team was, but they went on a 93-yard scoring drive and won the game. Whereas I'll reference Belichick or Bill Parcells or any of the ones off of that tree. No doubt, 4th and 4 on the other side of the 50, on the opponent's side of the 50, they're going for it.
Oh, yeah.
That ends the game.
Absolutely.
We
saw Andy Reid go for it on 4th down with his backup quarterback in a playoff game.
That is true.
Nobody expected that. He actually threw the ball. There he is, Mr. Finn.
Mr. Finn. But the best call of all time was, and we'll give celebration to Bobby Bowden's life. We talked about Mickey Mantle today, Tony Finn, because today's the anniversary. I don't know what you call it. I wasn't trying to be morbid. It's 26 years to the day that Mickey Mantle passed. So I was
Hold on.
celebrating his life as a baseball player, and hopefully I did it okay. But Bobby Bowden passed away at Florida State, and one of the few coaches I think, in my opinion at least, I loved Florida State as a younger man. I just loved how he talked after games. I loved the accent. I think I would have ran through fire for that guy had I played for him. But the fumble Ruski on 4th and whatever the hell it was against Tony Finn, or one of you guys got to help me here. I think it was Miami. Yeah, it was. It was one of the first times Miami was. It was the first time those two teams met as top 10 in the rankings. And it was on the road, and he's on like his 22-yard line, and he designed this play, and they practiced it and practiced it and practiced it for weeks. And 4th and 4 from his own like 22, he went for it, and they gained like 50, 60 yards and went on to win the game by doing that.
Illegal play.
What, by today's standards?
You can't run. You can't do the fumble Ruski anymore. No, yeah. By today's standards, essentially, it's an illegal play. Correct.
So if you snap it,
can't do it
to a fullback and he runs.
No, it has to do with the center and the fumble Ruski was actually there was some. I'd have to go back and read it, but being a Cliff Notes guy, I just went right to the end and said illegal.
That's fine.
No, I look it up.
I think the first one actually was okay, but then there was a second one where
maybe so. Maybe
the center never snapped the ball.
That's correct.
And laid it on the ground.
That's
right.
The one.
That's
right.
Yep.
That's
and
the
the
one.
wide receiver or tight end came and picked up the ball.
Right.
The punter acted like it went over his head.
Yeah, that's the one. Absolutely, the one where it had to do with the center snap exchange, et cetera, et cetera. That's what was declared. Whatever they decided, they can pretty much do whatever they want. At that time, it was the NCAA. It's still the good old boy network. It's slowly crumbling, and it's crumbled, per se. I mean, what's going on right now? They've hung on. That group's hung on for dear life for as long as they could because of the money involved, and now that has to some degree. It's like anything. It's like anything else in life, guys. There's time and a place, and I still have, I have, my heart goes out to a lot of the families that, that lived and breathed and died, breathing coal dust, for instance. And they still would, if it was up to them, they would still be doing the same old things that they did in coal mines. Where coal is still a necessity, we have alternatives to that. Much like and for I guess I'm gonna get off track here, but who was it? Who was the guy? Which billionaire or which basically innovator was the kerosene king? Who was that back in the when we didn't have electricity? The kerosene king, who had basically a monopoly and a stranglehold on kerosene. It was it's one of the
It's got to be an oil guy.
Yeah, it was I'll Google it, and I'm embarrassed I don't know it. I'll start telling a story, I don't know the name, but essentially he realized when they came out when they realized when electricity was going to be the dominant provider of electricity, or at least the fuel electricity. He was one of those guys who was smart enough to figure out, well, okay, what am I going to do with all this kerosene? What am I going to do with with the product I have? And of course, then he found a product that basically what I want to call it the byproduct of the kerosene that they used in gasoline. So, and then of course he became, like you just said, rather than being a kerosene tycoon, he was a oil tycoon. Who was it now? It was you Google it?
Well, there's actually a rock band called King Kerosene.
It is. I'm trying to get to is the NCAA. NCAA while I believe they're necessary. I think they're necessary to keep some semblance of what we have in amateur sports. It's to some, like I said, some degree. At this point in time, we've already been morphing into the understanding. Not just the three of us who we understand perfectly what sports are. Professional sports are not. This isn't a hobby or guys not wanting to grow up and deciding they want to continue to play football or baseball or whatever it is. It's a business. It's a bottom line business, and the NCAA's done their best they could to treat the kids as. And I don't want to get too far-reaching, but I will anyway with that. And these guys they're not slaves, but the NCAA has made quite a penny, quite a billion pennies off of these guys' images, likenesses, their abilities, their skill set, and prohibited them to some degree, to many degrees, prohibited them from, as an adult, earning a livelihood.
Absolutely.
You agree with that? I mean, you guys agree. They have basically said, "Listen, we're gonna give you money when we decide you're gonna get money, and we're gonna tell you whether you can work in this industry or in this profession or not." And God, I'm no genius, right? I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. There's lots of guys smarter than me, and I always thought this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. I've ever seen. Some of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen allowed. But as I got older, I realized, what's real, and what probably shouldn't be real. They just aren't. It's just not the world we live in. The world we live in is still and always has been really where money talks. And me, bullshit, tell people how much they don't like it and how fast I'll walk away from it. It's life. It's life. But these kids, I like the fact that Reggie Bush, once they did this, Reggie Bush said, "Well, now you guys, you see, now not only do I want my Heisman Trophy back, I want to be reimbursed for some of these things." Basically, you said what I did was it's the same thing you're allowing them to do now. Now, can we call it grandfather? There's lots of those in life, right? There's grandfather who are grandfathered in. Here locally, we have. You want to hear something silly? Locally, they changed the age, for smoking from 21 or 18 to 21. But then what you have is guys they're 19 and a half. They've been smoking for a year and a half, buying it, and they're saying, "Oh, hold it a second. How come we should be grandfathered in? We've been smoking. It's a habit, be it a physical habit or a nicotine addiction. Call it what you want." But and they're right. This is what they're right about. One kid was smart. He said, "Listen, you've been feeding me drugs my whole life. You get me addicted to it. You empty my pockets every single week, and now you're going to tell me I can't do it. I'm coming to burn your house down." That's what he basically said. Hey, I'll smoke your house. So, welcome to the real world. What do we do? What do we do with that? What do we do with that? What do we do with things like that? Now, again, football is what it is, and they're always going to decide what is allowed and what isn't allowed, right? As long as we let them do that.
What if a kid's on like a Trevor Lawrence is on a scholarship for 4 years,
yep,
and he signs multi-million-dollar deals? Shouldn't he pay back the scholarship? So that another kid, another student, another academic student, another ping pong player, another rapper?
I think you can make an argument for that now. But before, I don't think you had a leg to stand on, because guess what? They were making you more money than that scholarship was. Pennies on the dollar with that scholarship for the most part. Most kids, obviously, there's that walk-on that works his butt off to get a scholarship, so he can go to school and get his degree and actually use what college is intended for the rest of his life. But it's the minor leagues, guys, is it not? We don't have minor league football. Yeah. It's minor league football. It's what it is, and these guys are preparing for their what's going to be their career, albeit fairly brief compared to what an accountant or what a lawyer or something like that is able to do. Humans are. I mean, there's not too many Nolan Ryans or Jim or Ottos there's just not those guys that play in their 50s. That are able to play in their 50s and get paid to play in their 50s. A lot of guys played in their 50s, got paid, not because they could contribute on the ice or the field or the court, but because of what they brought to the box office, to the ticket counter. So.
By the way,
I mean, Udonis Haslem.
Go ahead.
Udonis Haslem signed for another year.
Yeah.
Miami Heat.
Right.
There you go.
Right. Exactly. I don't. It's one of those days. We're fortunate enough. At least I've always said I'm fortunate enough. I can retire if I have the wherewithal. We can retire when we want to. And the other side of that is that as long as we can type, I think, and talk and listen and see and hear and assess what's in front of us. And remember where we were 5 minutes ago, and don't have the necessity of having someone change our diaper. We can probably do this for a long time. But in fact, I've always said, heck, even if you don't remember where we were 5 minutes ago, you can probably still do this if you're smart enough.
Oh, I mean, in terms of your diaper, Tony, I can just put you off air.
Well,
nobody will see, and then nobody will know.
That's very kind of you. Huh?
See, I think out of the box.
Well, I'm glad you do, because listen, there's other people who think not only out of the box, they think, let's get out of the box, back in the box, and back out of the box again. And they would tell me they were going to put me off air, and they wouldn't do it, and they would sell tickets to that.
Yeah, and that restaurant was called Jack in the Box.
I don't like Jack. I don't. They haven't offered me any sponsorships, but I'm not a big fan of Jack in the Box.
Well, I think Matt's on record here. He's talking
George.
About. No, go ahead, George. I'll pick this up.
Yeah,
I just first of all, it's 12 a.m. for me now. Let's not forget that I have to work tomorrow. Weekend's gonna be tough, so I'm trying to pick Tony's brain here a little.
Oh, I'm listening.
And I'm sorry to come on the show every time and think about Week 1 NFL football, but let me tell you, that's on my mind the whole day. It doesn't stop.
Week 1 regular season or Week 1
regular
tonight?
Season? Correct.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Regular season. I remember we were talking about the whole Aaron Rodgers situation last time I was on the show with you.
Yeah.
That wasn't cleared out. Do you have an angle you'd like to share now? I'm looking at -2.5. Well, the money line is -140. I'm looking at -2.5, 120, 125. What do you think about that game? And just give me an angle on that game and tell me.
Week 1, New Orleans.
Week 1.
Okay. If hypothetically, let's say the game was Sunday and it's Friday. Let's say the game's in 2 days. All right.
Okay.
And things were as I believe they are this minute. I would say irresponsibly, George, I would say mortgage your house, sell everything you have, and get down on Green Bay not having to lay more than a field goal because of the mess that is New Orleans right now. The absolute mess that they are. And I said this on many shows, George, we did talk about that. I think I probably reiterated, at least I probably verbalized that I didn't think Rodgers would play. I think this guy's got plenty. He's a smart, think about where he went to college. He wasn't one of those kids that, while he had talent, he's not the Tony Finn with the IQ of 61 that gets a scholarship to Harvard to play chess or football. That's just, those things do happen, but he's a smart guy. He's a smart guy. He has money in the bank. He's made plenty of money. It was time that Green Bay realized, at least the front office realized, that they're not the boss when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. They're not even the boss when it comes to the Green Bay Packers or the board. The boss is Aaron Rodgers. He's the boss. What he says is what goes.
Clip that, John.
They didn't realize. Do you agree with that? He is the boss.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of bosses. Tony. Ron.
So what eventually happened there? He said, "Listen, I'm going to smile for the camera. I'm going to tell him that you and I kissed and made up. I'm going to smile. You're going to bring back a player of my choosing. And don't ask me why. It was already in the works before even all this came out when Cobb was welcomed back. And that was weeks before they talked about this. And they knew it. They didn't want to bring Cobb back. They didn't really want to draft a receiver for Aaron Rodgers.
They drafted Amari Rodgers as a slot. I think they were going to use him had Aaron not asked for Randall Cobb.
And all of a sudden, things got a little better for all the rest of the offensive players that I think were dependent on their success, and their stats in large were dependent on Aaron Rodgers. And their value on the field, I think they saw a lose-lose situation without Aaron Rodgers and Love at quarterback. Do you agree with that too? Where they're better off. I hate to use an example like the kid that played for New York and went to the Chiefs last year. That held out. Listen, he was holding out in the end of his career. What I mean by that is running backs have a very short lifespan.
Le'Veon Bell?
Exactly. And that he got paid. He did get paid. He got what he wanted, but he was the guy that said, listen, I'm not going to get on the field and play a year when it's not going to cost me $5 million to play football. I'm going to earn $5 million if I play. Additional, and in this situation with Rodgers, everyone around Aaron Rodgers, not that Love's not capable, but I think we know if this is a business that I'm saying it is, and you guys are shaking your head, yes, we agree. Then there's decisions that are made. If you're not going to get what you think your product's worth, then guess what? You just pull it off the shelf until the demand is going to pay you what you believe it's worth.
I think it's bad for business, not only for the Green Bay Packers, but for the entire NFL. Aaron Rodgers sitting out for the whole year, that would have been bad for viewing, engagement, jerseys, tickets, everything. Because, when the Green Bay plays on the road, nobody's going to pay $500 to watch, with all due respect. And I hope he becomes great and amazing because I'm a fan, and anybody who puts on that jersey, I'm going to support him. But so as far as right now, do you think this line – because here's the thing. I'm big on when a player comes out and he surprises people, I'm big on there's a tape now. There's a tape where you can watch Tua. You can watch Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill threw for 48 times against the Eagles, the game they lost. So I'm actually a big fan of his game, but it's no surprise now. Peyton he's shown the scheme. I'm sure he has quite a few tricks up his sleeve right now. But I'm looking at this line. I'm thinking this is probably baked in with Taysom Hill starting and not Jameis Winston, right? The minus 2.5.
If they would announce – so what you're saying, though, is if they were to announce that Winston was a starter, let's say officially came out on record and Peyton got in front, did a presser and said, Winston's going to start. My first question for him would be, he may start the game, but how many snaps? Essentially what you have here, don't you, is a two-headed quarterback. And you're going to have schemes that you're going to run Wildcats, different situations on the field, different plays, different times of the game that call for one quarterback, whether it be Winston or whether it be New England's 2020 offense, where the quarterback didn't even throw the ball. He was essentially a second or third running back, and for good reason, because New England didn't have any receivers, right? They didn't have. They had nothing. They had nothing essentially. So
no weapons.
So I just think you have a two-headed quarterback here. The problem, what you have, more than the problem with quarterbacks, I think Winston's. I think he gets better the more he plays. I think he would be I think it'd be a great year or two if he could play full time under Peyton. I think he would improve dramatically. I think he'd make better decisions. I think. I don't think that Drew Brees was a prodigy. I think Peyton's a good coach. In fact, I consider him one of the top 5 coaches in football. And if it came down to having to make a decision on a game, and the two teams they were a shake and a bake. They basically were a toss-up. Then I'm going to look at the coaches. If it's a big game and you put a gun in my head, so you got to pick a winner. Peyton would be one of those guys. Carroll has always been one of those guys for me. So can Winston learn from this? Yes. But I don't think, George, that I personally, I could be wrong. I don't think there's a big move if they were to announce that Winston was a starter, because I don't believe that what New Orleans is going to do offensively, especially without Thomas, is going to be.
They have no weapons besides Kamara and
yes. Oh, Kamara. Listen, wouldn't you, if you're a fantasy guy, you surely want Kamara. Yeah. But as soon as it's week 4 or 5 and he's killed it, I would be selling high, because he's not going to survive 17 weeks of 40 touches a game.
That's a great trade, Tony. It's always been a great trade.
Yep. I don't believe he will. I mean, he's already shown some propensity for, he's not Barry Sanders, Barry Sanders was the king of getting out of bounds and making defensive players miss, hit him. That was part of his skill set. And then as soon as you thought he was going to step out of bounds, or you thought he was going to go down, he went by you. So really, Kamara is a very good player, great dual threat from the backfield. But 40 touches a game for a guy like that is tough. It's the NFL. That's why the average lifespan of a running back in the NFL is about 4.5 years.
It's 2.5.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, I guess in this day and age,
running backs, running backs, not just starters.
Right.
So you're right about the starters being over 4, but any running back that enters a game for a play, the average lifespan is
there's been
2.5.
You're right. There's plenty of running backs, guys, who were products of their offensive line. That the number one. There was a kid that came out of Texas, got drafted by Baltimore, couldn't make the team, was almost ready to get cut. There was a coach who thought Priest Holmes was a perfect fit for his offense. He made a trade for him. His name was Dick Vermeil, and Dick Vermeil had arguably, in my mind, the best offensive line in the history of offensive lines. And Priest Holmes became an instant fantasy stud, and a guy that. One thing that Priest did really well is he could read he knew what his blockers. He was great about just stopping almost behind the line, saying, "Okay, this is where I go. This is where I go." And it always helps to have, 3 Hall of Famers in front of you.
Huh. And Dick Vermeil is one of the few guys on the planet that can say that he beat Woody Hayes.
Yes.
For you younger guys, head coach of Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. In fact, if I'm right, the Eagles hired him after the last time he beat Woody Hayes in the Rose Bowl.
The Eagles hired him also because he was as good a coach as he was probably a better person, and he ended up being the guy who took care of the Philadelphia owner when he became dead broke from losing all his money gambling. Who put him up? Dick Vermeil paid for his apartment till he died.
Norman Bremen.
Yes.
That was such a sad story, Tony.
Yes, it is. And very good man, Dick Vermeil. Very, very good man. And a player's coach that was also, he was tough enough, unlike Dave Roberts, he was tough enough to, if you needed a kick in the butt, he'd do it.
Who's Dave Roberts again?
This is Davey Don't listen. George, don't listen to him.
George, I apologize. I didn't mean to set anybody up there. But Tony Finn and Dave Roberts, they have a love affair going on now for multiple years.
Mm-hmm. Are we talking about the Dodgers skipper?
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm being sarcastic. I am being sarcastic.
Absolutely. The guy should have been. He won the World Series. Yep. He won the World Series. They still have the best team. I like them a lot. He should have been fired 3 years ago. Even though he won. I mean, Coach Bud won the ring for the Bucks. I'm not going to backtrack on everything I've said and believed about Coach Bud all this time, right?
Yeah, there's anybody but Dave Roberts. Well, Dave Roberts is really he's live. Gabe and Renzi, who's a guy. I do Gabe's show every Friday night. Tonight I'll get on, and at some point in time, I will throw a bitch pitch at Dave Roberts. and it will just be what I do. and tonight it'll be because I rarely tonight I would never play. Look, I think when I played the Dodgers today, I'm giving it away. I played the Dodgers guys tonight, so don't buy that play. But I would normally at $1.50, I'd be playing run line. But the love affair between Dave Roberts and Jansen prohibits me from playing the run line with these damn Dodgers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, and you have so many relievers that can get the job done. You have starters that you can throw out there for an inning.
Yep.
I mean, they're number one, the wild card, so they're not really chasing anybody. But
they have a pretty good lead. You're right too.
They have a pretty good lead, but hey, guess what? One game against the Padres, anything can happen. The Padres are they're to be taken seriously.
They are, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
Yeah,
Look, the Tatis, I don't know what you guys feel about this, but I don't think
I agree.
They're going to bring Tatis back and put him at first base. This is what they're telling you. We're going to bring him back. He can't throw. His shoulder he can't play that shortstop position. You cannot play it in this day and age of baseball without being able to throw from the outfield. I mean, it's just such a key. That shortstop is such a key piece to the defensively that if they're telling us, okay, well, after this 10-day IL, we'll bring Tatis back and play him at first base or or one of the outfielders where he doesn't have to throw as much. They're telling us that really, in truth,
he shouldn't
be playing. He shouldn't be playing the rest of the year, probably.
I agree.
Yeah. But they're kind of desperate.
When you're injured.
Yeah. I mean, they're in a desperate situation. They are. They're not playing great ball. They're not. Without Tatis, I mean, their offense is a little bit hit and miss sometimes. Hosmer is not the player he was in 15 or 16, well, especially not in 15 when he was a Kansas City Royal and they won the World Series. I mean, what he could do with the bat is night and day different than what he can do with the bat right now. It's just what happens with age, bat speed, et cetera, et cetera. They have some holes.
If he's right-handed hitter, right?
No, left-handed.
Okay.
No, Tatis or Hosmer. Tatis. It's a right shoulder injury, which makes him capable of swinging from. When you're batting, you pull.
It's what I was going to say.
And most of it's weight shift anyway, so he can bat, but throwing and first base is logically the best position to put a guy at who can't throw right now, or you don't want him throwing. So, I mean, if they want his bat,
that's true, Tony.
Yeah.
One exception: if I'm the GM. And I have a player. I don't give a crap if he's the best player on my team.
Yep.
Best player in the league, or he just got called up.
Yep.
An injury like that, coming back too soon, and you're exactly right. Right-hander is going to pull the knob of the bat to the ball. It's the left hand, the left arm that generates the power. But then the extension, and then you see the batter's wrist. I'm trying to get in front of the camera. Rolls over like this. You see it in golf. What does the right shoulder do then? It extends.
There's a big risk, and if you're desperate, like I think they are, not desperate, maybe not the right word, but they want to compete. They're competitors. Even the general managers, even the guys in the front office, everybody wants to win. The players want to win. They know Tatis is a big piece to their successful puzzle of winning. However, that's a big risk because that's an investment that you've paid guaranteed money to. Baseball's different than football, guys. You can take a football player and use him and abuse him and then discard him, and there's no guaranteed. Tatis got his money. Baseball has guaranteed money, and if you're going to take that investment and base it on a wild card spot, I think it's a bad gamble.
Yep, I agree 100%.
Yeah,
there's nothing good that can come out of this.
A World Series and no more further injury to Tatis is good, and it's a gamble you won, but those are long odds, brother.
I don't think so. I don't see that happening. And I don't think they have. Do they have any guys that they didn't make any trades where they have the Chris Bryants, the Max Scherzers that they can only have for this season and possibly push all in. So if you're the Padres, you're looking at this long term. You sign Machado for 10 years. Guaranteed money, Tatis.
Yep.
San Diego's becoming a destination for free agents and a 1 year thing. So I would agree with that brings the fans in. He's the guy that people pay their tickets to go watch. And
He's the face of. Listen, there's a couple of guys that are the face of baseball, and Tatis is one of those guys. He's the face of baseball the next 10 years, the next decade. Yeah,
absolutely. He's a really cool guy too. He's a really cool guy. To be fair,
he does a few things that kids do that irritate the hell out of me. When they get cocky and they've done something they think special, not quite what an end rusher will do in the NFL. They're down 40 points on the scoreboard. He makes a sack, and then he dances like they just won the Super Bowl. And I want to, if I'm a coach, I want to grab him by the back of his neck and drag him outside and say, "Listen, dude, look at the effing scoreboard. Well, who are you dancing for? I'm dancing for my sponsors, coach, the ones that pay me. The hot dog guys and Gatorade guys." All that, and the cell phone guys. I got a cell phone hidden in the pads of the goalposts. So when I get a safety sack, I'm grabbing that. I got big money coming. That's what we. I
would put Ohtani in that list too.
No, without question, baseball. I agree. Ohtani is in that. Yes,
if he told by the expert
he needs to speak.
Heads.
He needs to learn to speak English. It would make his. Like
transition.
Us, it was like us as English, as gringos, as crackers. My daughters both speak a little. I've told them when they were coming up, I said, "Listen, become fluent, Spanish preferably, but in something because it makes you worth so much more money on the open market in your career. Both of their careers, it made them worth more money. And as for the same thing for Ohtani, learn English. Didn't have to be great English. It can be. Baseball was very, very good to me, and that's good enough.
And I took Latin for 5 years.
We know. I agree. Remember, we did that little Latin game for a while, but
we did.
You showed me up too much, so I gave it up. I don't like to lose that many times.
That was fun. We should bring that back to the show. George is saying, like, what the hell do these guys do?
Yeah, George had to be here every day. Says, I did some Latin. What did I do? I said some Latin stuff, and I don't know. I thought maybe I could. I couldn't get a buy. Couldn't get a buy.
The reason that you don't
Machine Gun Kelly.
Latin can't be spoken because if you say a sentence with 4 verbs in it.
Yeah,
those are the last things spoken in a sentence.
I do. I know some Croatians. I know some Croatians that have 4 verbs in their name. Or those vowels. Maybe they're vowels, maybe not verbs. Just kidding. Joke. Okay.
I think George would agree with that.
George, where are you at? Aren't you in Spain?
Greece.
In Greece? I'm sorry. Did I say Spain? In Greece? Yeah. I have a couple.
Athens, Greece, sir.
I have a couple very close friends, 40-year friends that are immigrants from Greece, and they're all crazy as a loon. Every single one of them. Nuts to the absolutely nuts. And one of them still believes, tells me every day, I found a new girl. She's barefoot, and she promises to stay in the kitchen. And I say, oh, my God. Paul Karagianis, that's his last name. Paul Karagianis. And he might be listening. He might not like that, but we just threw him under the bus. Paul's the craziest man, one of the craziest men I ever knew. But Greek, old school Greek, old school anything for that matter. Truthfully, we still have a lot of people who believe that women should be barefoot in the kitchen, right?
I think he should.
It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad plan.
I don't want to offer. I'd rather stick to football because I don't know about you guys, but I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting excited and stressed.
Oh,
every day that goes by, I have week 1
really
going right in front of me. Yeah,
well, it's a good time for that. I'm excited about that too. But I spend so much time with my head buried in a bad television show is actually pretty good for me. A little hour away from it,
The Bachelor.
No Bachelor, no Big Brother. I just shake my head when I go out on my patio and the group of people are watching Big Brother or something. I just say, you know what?
What is it you're watching though?
Well, I'm watching tape of maybe a football game or reading.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but mine. Listen,
I was watching Packers Saints from last year.
There you go. Yeah. I tell them,
Devontae Adams.
They all need therapy. I know I need therapy. They really need therapy because after that, it may be the game show channel. You talk about what?
That's my dad's favorite. That's my dad's favorite. The game show channel.
Yeah,
that's his favorite.
What's the show? I don't know what it is. Whatever the two team families or fight, Family Feud or whatever it is. That's
Family Feud, yeah.
I say put helmets, shoulder pads on them, let them go at it. That's what I say.
Take it outside, right?
That's the game. That's the game show network right there.
Absolutely.
I didn't mean to get off track like that. How did I get? See, I do that really well.
No, it's all good. I mean, this stuff is all good. I'm going to mention the golf tournament though. Is just a little.
Oh yeah, well that'll get me all excited. So I'm listening.
So this is the end of the regular season, as I like to call it, of the PGA Tour. So this is the last tournament before the FedEx Cup starts, which is a 3-event stretch. And the winner at the end of that 3-event stretch last year was Dustin Johnson.
Yeah.
And he was awarded $25 million.
How much? Can I ask a question? How much did he make? How much did he make during the year before the $25 million?
I have no idea. I'm going to guess 7, 8, 9.
That's it? 7 or 8, 9 million? I have a hard time believing that, considering one tournament can win you 3 or 4 million.
No, the biggest ones now I think are around 2.3, 2.4.
Okay. My mistake. What would I ever do if I missed out on $750,000 after I already had 25 in the bank?
It's a good point though, because I remember the days where Tom Kite was the all-time money leader career.
Yep.
At $9 million.
That's
shortly thereafter, in the 90s, I don't remember who it was, earned more than that in a single season, and it was not Tiger. It might have been Greg Norman or Nick Faldo, one of those guys. And then golf hit the ceiling there in 98, 99, 2000, and the industry kind of crashed. Thank God that Tiger was there. But in terms of golf industry, golf course superintendents, it was a depression. And now because of COVID, it's come back because people had nothing else to do but join a country club and play golf or go to their local muni track and play there. So, golf is kind of back now. But only the top 125 in the world golf rankings get to advance to next week, which is being held in North Jersey at the Barclays. And there's been some interesting moves. Russell Henley's leading the tournament right now. He's in his second round. He's 12 under, and he's on the 12th hole. He shot 62 yesterday. It's a par 70 Donald Ross designed course in Greensboro, North Carolina. So he shot 62 yesterday. He's on his way. He's 400 now, which would be a 66 if he pars out. Really incredible golf by him. He's already 46th in the standings, but he'll jump up to as high as 20 to 23. So he's a lock to get to Atlanta, which is the final. Roy Sabatini, a name you don't hear very much, was 141 in the golf rankings, and he's already moved up 46 spots. So if the tournament ended today, he would be 95th and well within the 125 range. Scott Piercy, another guy, was 126. He's as high as 75 now. And Justin Rose, believe it or not, as it stood going into this tournament, he would not have made it being at 138, and he's now at 115 after shooting 66, 65. He has to keep the gas on the pedal, though, because the next tournament, you have to be in the top 75 to make it. So these guys are really looking to make some big jumps. Matt Kuchar was 124. He shot 66 yesterday, and he's on 17, 4 under again. So he's looking to go back-to-back 66, and he would be 104th. Now, guys that are not making the move are... And Max on record, he knows already that DeChambeau did not play this week. He's I think Max on record said he's resting his mind. DeChambeau is an interesting creature. So
makes him money.
Nate Lashley, not a big name, but he was 127. He's now 132. Really can't find too many others that are on the cusp of getting in or getting out. That were close. Kyle Stanley was a 111. He's now 116. You know, it's a nervous time because you don't want your season to end. I can tell you Ricky Fowler's season ended. He was 130th coming in and didn't make the cut. So that's about all I have to say about the Wyndham tournament, other than the fact that Webb Simpson owns this course. Every once in a while, there's a golf course like Torrey Pines was to Tiger that no matter what, they could come in playing like crap and just all of a sudden play like it's the easiest game in the world. And Webb Simpson is 10 under, back-to-back 65s, and there's no course even close to what he's been able to do on this one. So there's some magic in those woods, that's for sure. Anyway, tomorrow's round 3. We'll see what's going on. I took Seamus Power as an 80-1 long shot to win. And Tommy Fleetwood was another long shot. He's actually tied for 20 right now at -6. But I don't think Power is doing so hot. Let's just look at him up, and then we'll do our best bets for the final round. Oh, he's good. He's -4. He's tied for 43. He's on the 14th hole, 1 under for the day. So I take that back. I'm kind of happy where he is because he's not going to be 80-1. He's probably going to be more like 30-1 at the end of the day. So that's it. So you guys want to do some round trippers here with best bets?
Whatever you want to do.
Matt, George, you can start, and then I'll go, and then Tony Finn will be our anchor, and then I'll take us out of here. And you can use the pick you mentioned to me earlier. Before you started, we had Jimmy Adams on Tony Finn, but he was recorded. I did a show with him today.
Okay.
He couldn't make it, and I figured out a way to embed the video into our live show, and it worked nice.
Very nice.
And his pick is on the Jacksonville Jaguars tomorrow.
Okay.
7 o'clock Saturday down in Jacksonville.
Right.
So that's our first free pick of the show, and now George's turn.
Okay.
I don't necessarily love much from today's baseball slate to give it out as a best bet. What I do like right now, and I always try to stay away from betting my teams and the Packers, the Bulls, Manchester United, or whoever that may be. But I feel like right now, as Tony said, if the game was in 2 days, I'd take the Pack. There's just so much value because we're basically blindly handicapping this because it is a new season. And as we know, football is you can't base too much on the previous week, let alone the previous season. But from what we have in our hands right now, I feel like there's a lot of value in betting the Pack. And considering I do not like the baseball card today, and I do not want to lay -160, I'll go ahead and ride with the Pack.
So the Pack is on week 1.
Money line. I like the money line, 140 or 2.5. Both equally as good.
And that's for week 1.
That would be the Packers week 1 in the NFL against the Saints. Sorry, it feels like I've been asking Tony about this game all the time.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm good talking about it.
Yep.
I'm always good talking about it, without question. So you're saying take the road Packers week 1 in the Big Easy over Peyton and the Saints, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. That's you. Go for it, Machine Gun Kelly.
That name just makes me feel strong.
It should. Yeah.
Like the Prez when he used to do the bicep thing. which really was hard to see, but I got the point. So here in the baseball realm, I'm going to Philadelphia, and Tony, I will prove to you that I am not George. I started being called a homer, and I started being accused of being in love with Ben Simmons, or he's in love with me, or we both love each other. And then all of a sudden, I was called a homer because I was talking about the Phillies and Tony Finn. George was respectful to me because he remembered when I said before DeGrom got hurt that the Phillies at whatever it was, 18-1, 22-1.
Yes.
And you agreed with me that at 7,000 to 1 to win the World Series was tremendous. Oh, not 7,000 to 1, plus 70 to 1.
Yeah, that I said at that point in time, I thought when Grom got hurt, that you had the Phillies are only 4 games out. I mean, and look at the numbers on the Phillies. Why would you not, if you're going to have a flyer, if you're going to put pizza money on something?
Pizza money.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I'm a homer.
Oh, it does. You're a homer for other reasons. No. And listen, I'm just one of those guys that likes to be kept in line. And if I start leaning some way because my passion is misdirected, somebody needs to tell me.
Well, as Max on record said, traitor going against your Phils. I just want to prove this right here.
Yeah.
Cincinnati versus Philly. Now, this was recorded earlier, and I do these every day. So you get a free pick breakdown, plus you get a little betting angle that you can keep for yourself, and that does pretty well. You can see this one's 12-2, but it's the run line, and Cincinnati plus 1.5 run line is the bet tonight on the free pick show. So for tonight on this show, I love the over in Philly. It's been 105 heat index now for 4 days, and the ground is not getting any cooler. The dew point is going up, and the dew point is the ground temperature. Last night they said it was 104 degrees on the field. And Citizens Bank Park, like many other ballparks, is built into the ground.
Right.
So that field is below the parking lot level by probably 20, 30 feet. And it just incubates. It's like a miniature microwave. And not much air moves around there on the field, and I've been on it. It can be just scorching. And we've seen the pitchers the last 3 nights, really, the Dodgers series. The sweat is running off them like they just got out of the shower.
Right.
And that makes the ball travel in Philly. And that left field fence, they may say it's 334. I still think it's like 325. But nobody listens to me to go measure it. It's like a short porch there in Yankee Stadium.
Right.
Hitting into the right field area there, that was just a sweet spot for Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, and all the other guys that could bat from the left side. So tonight, I think both starters are going to have to keep the ball down. Wheeler does a good job of that, but if they start missing against these Reds, the Reds are batting something 290 over the last 7 games, and if I was Milwaukee, I wouldn't be too content with that 8-game lead, to be honest with you. I know we only have 45 games to go, but the Reds seem to be, they've been on my radar for months, and they seem to be putting it together. And if there was ever a time that Wheeler would be vulnerable, it's tonight in the heat, and the ball is going to carry a mile in left center. So I'd like the over in this game. And it's going to carry into right center as well, because the wind is going to be coming out kind of, left to right, but left to right out to right center. But for whatever reason, it carries a ton to left.
And even though you have essentially with no wind tonight, you believe that carries still?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I've been there.
And I see I have a hard time, just to be contrary, I have a hard time, me personally, playing overs. I can play unders sometimes blindly without an umpire, but overs, I have a big issue with it because of just my philosophy on totals. But
who is the umpire for this game tonight?
We don't know. It's game one of the series, and they haven't been announced yet. Although it's getting right to the point where they will announce it here in the next half hour or so.
Yeah. You might be my uncle because I do not bet overs in baseball. I just do not. I'm very comfortable betting the unders. Very comfortable. Yeah. I know the bullpen can screw me. I know I could be, on the right side and lose, but the overs, nope. Sorry, I'll pass.
My mentor was under. Listen, unders. That's where the sharp money almost always is. It's under, and the reason being is you're a winner before the game even starts. Before first pitch is even thrown, you're the winner. They have to beat you.
Absolutely.
But you know what the amateur thinks, especially in the NFL.
The amateurs should play overs. They play the favorites in the overs. That's
right, because I always have a chance.
Yeah. Well,
7-3 in the fourth quarter. I still have a chance.
Yeah, I thought I had a chance too with Miss America. I was wrong.
Hey, at least she went for it.
No. Yeah.
At least she went for it. So,
she laughed. She laughed. Said, "Yeah, okay."
So I'm doing over
I'm making
8.5.
I'm making $3.20 an hour, Beach. Don't you like that?
It's better than 3.10.
Well, I don't know. I can't remember what I was making when I was 17 or 18, but certainly wasn't Miss America worthy. That's for certain. So what do you got the over? You got the over with Wheeler. With your boy Wheeler, you got the over.
My analytics say there could be a chance of a little bit of a regression with him and not the stellar start that he had.
I told you, as soon as you can assess college football players and what they're going to do in college without even talking to them or working them out, no matter how good that player is or ever is, you'll always be the boss. You'll always be the smartest guy in the workplace. It's when you make those mistakes and you're guessing and you finally get somebody who's, good or a star. They're the boss. So I'm going to
Joey, before you do your pick, that's exactly what's lost in sports and scouts in baseball, recruiters going to high school games. They watch on a computer now. Yeah. What they should be doing, like in the old days, and I remember this because I'm not exactly young, and we didn't have any internet, but we had a head coach from a college, university, basically a couple times a week show up for dinner. Mm-hmm. And as much as he was interviewing, and telling my parents about this and that, and, I'll take care of your son and, whatever.
Yeah.
He was also interviewing me to see, what type of character, what type of work ethic, what type of work ethic do the parents have. And then you get, you draft these kids in the first round now, and they don't have a clue, some of these picks, of what the work ethic is, and I will say this, if it's true about Ben Simmons and his refusal to try to improve his free throw shooting, mm-hmm. and saying, don't worry about it, coach, then that's a mistake that could have been avoided a long time ago, because they would have known that before the draft.
Well,
that's all I'm going to say about it.
May I offer? Yeah, let me just offer my opinion here. The thing is that kids nowadays they get paid way too early in all sports. So when you go ahead and you hand De'Aaron Fox, who I'm a big fan of, you say, "Here you go, man. Here's 160 million. It's okay that you shoot 60% from the line. I'm not even talking about Ben Simmons type of shooting. It's okay that you're not a great free throw shooter. Here's 160 million. That's on you. You pay Ben Simmons, you max him out, you tell him you're a stud, you're an all-star. That's on the franchise that doesn't know that they're investing money into somebody that doesn't have the work ethic of a LeBron James who didn't have a jumper and then developed it. They called him the prince, right? LeBron's the king, Ben's the prince. So, and let's be fair, the kid, he has a whole lot of basketball to play to prove us wrong, and I hope he does.
I do too.
Because other than that, he's a great player. But work ethic is just something that it just can't be taught. It can be taught through life experience, but it cannot be taught through books, if I may. So when you go ahead and you reward these athletes with contracts like this, then, and I know Tony's going to say that, it's guaranteed money. It's not like football where you have to prove yourself every year, and that's true. And one of my mentors says that there shouldn't be guaranteed money, but that's a topic for a different day.
Yeah,
but what I have to say is, so if Ben Simmons, first of all, it's not a great fit, whether he makes free throws or he doesn't. When you have a dominant post player and one of your perimeter guys is a liability, it could be Westbrook. It doesn't have to be Ben Simmons. It could be Westbrook, who occasionally shoots. The floor shrinks. The floor shrinks for Embiid. You put a guy that can shoot the three next to Embiid, he's going to be even more dominant than he is right now.
That's right.
That's logic. I mean, yeah, we already know that as long as Simmons is on the floor, it's 4-on-5. When Philly has the ball, it's 4-on-5. It's a double team on Embiid, and the rest of the guys playing defense.
And it's okay if you have Steph Curry on your team, because the Warriors get away with playing Draymond, even though Draymond, he's not Ben Simmons type of. He's not in the Ben Simmons type of can't shoot category.
No, he's not. And Draymond can actually shoot free throws.
Yes, he can, and he can make a three occasionally. But what I'm trying to say is that there's the perimeter threat around him that makes sense for him to play. So you can't have a dominant post player like Embiid, who, when he's healthy, he might be the best player in the league, especially offensively.
No question.
He's a right now. I've always said that NBA players are the best athletes in the world, and I get arguments all the time from Euro guys that believe soccer players are. No, but the Euro player guys from Europe, they'll say no, soccer players are, and I say, well, as soon as I see 7 foot, 250-pound guys playing soccer that are doing the things that the NBA players are doing, and then I'll buy it. And they say, well, there is. I said, no. I said, there's not. There's not. I said, there could be. And guess what he's doing? Embiid's a soccer player. Didn't even play basketball until he was almost a senior in high school. He's a soccer player. And he chose to play in the NBA. Lots of reasons why, I think. Maybe because he was never going to be an elite soccer player, because he chose Barnum and Bailey's. He chose the circus, which is what the NBA is. It's a circus. It's a show. I always say it again. I always have this disclaimer. I say lovingly, NBA players are freaks. You're not supposed to do what they do. What they're able to do is something we wish we could do. We wish we could jump over tall buildings in a single bound. We wish we could shoot from 40 feet with people poking us in our eyes. We wish, and that's why the bearded lady was paid so much money in the early 1900s, and that's why Embiid is paid what he's paid.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
now I could be a bearded lady, couldn't I?
Not likely. Not a good one.
Probably. I can't be good at anything. I know that. What we talk? And yes, listen. Yeah, I'll say this. I agree with you, George. Everything you said, but I'll say this, and that is the one thing I never begrudge a guy for a player. And when people say, "Oh, he's making too much money," I argue with them. I say, "Well, how can you say that?" I use this example all the time. I think I've used it on the show, and that is, if somebody comes to my front door and says, "Tony, I want to give you $5 million for your home," the fact is, his home's is worth maybe $500,000. What am I going to say? No. I'm going to say, okay, where do I sign?
Thank you very much.
And guess what? These guys they listen. You are worth what somebody will pay you. Your house is worth what somebody will give you for it. And if someone's unless you're a different animal, and they come to you and say, listen, we want to give you $500 million because we think you're the best quarterback in the world, and you say, well, no, unless you reduce that to maybe 200 million instead of 500 million, I'm not playing for you. You don't even want that guy on your team. You want the guy that's going to say, no, I want 750 million. You want
exactly.
You want that player. Okay, so free pick. We're going to go to where we're going to go. We're going to go to a late play. We're going to go out to Chase Field in Valley of the Sun, home of the Dirt Devils and Roadrunners and some of the most beautiful heat waves that go through the air throughout the day. A hot Phoenix. So we're going to go to, again, Chase Field, Padres, visitors, Diamondbacks, hosts, Blake Snell, Cy Young winner, Bumgarner, World Series MVP. Totals 8.5 in this game. Snell's dichotomy, Snell's splits, home road splits, are ridiculous. They're ridiculous. You got one of these guys that has a home ERA at 2 and under 2, road ERA and 6.7, somewhere in that area. It's not a history with Snell. You know what I'm saying? He's been hurt in the last year, so he came in the season. He wasn't 100% to put him out there. And so I beg of you to discard, throw it out. Throw those splits out the window, unless it's something that unless a pitcher has been that person, that pitcher, that player for years upon years and has a history of being more comfortable at home on Christmas Day and Thanksgiving Day, then you just throw them out. Bumgarner, since he's been back from the IL, resembles that guy that we were talking about back in May, who was throwing at the same velocity he was throwing in 17, who was hitting the spots like he was in 17. Been absolutely outstanding. 5 starts since he returned, 4 or 5 starts, 5 earned runs, and not against the Rockies, and not against the Philadelphia Phillies, those kind of light hitting teams. And the personal numbers that Snell has against the Diamondbacks, I think they're hitting less than 175 against Snell, even in the season when they met him this year. And for Bumgarner, although the history is longer, and the lineup right now for the Padres, if they could fit them all in there, because there's like 12 guys that have live at bats against Bumgarner, they're still hitting about 220, on base percentage under 300, and it's almost like the single home runs it's been against Bumgarner. He's given up 10 home runs, but it's been 160 at bats. So it's still not that horrible. Okay, that's not great. It's still not horrible. It's still basically averages 2 home runs a game. And under 8.5. The umpire, Jim Wolf. He's always been. It's a guy that we look at. If you're a baseball fan, you always look at him as being pitcher friendly. Why? Because he's a major league. His brother was a major league pitcher for over 10 years. And he's always been pitch friendly, although he's not been unfair. He's one of the more fair umpires, one of the most consistent guys. But he has a trend, a propensity to really favoring left-handed pitchers. Why? His brother was left-handed. Both starters left-handed. 8.5's the number in Chase. Bumgarner pitching really well. Snell capable of, if he's efficient tonight, going 6 to 7 innings against this Diamondbacks lineup, who has been miserable offensively. They've had their 15-minute moments, but if I look at my numbers and my notes, I don't have them in front of me. I'm doing this by osmosis, whatever you want to call it. I'm doing it by memory. They're a team that you surely don't want to play the over on against a guy like Snell, who is capable of dominating, like the under, late. If you need a late winner, either build your bankroll or level your miserable day. Under in Arizona with Snell and Bumgarner is my play.
And to your point, Blake Snell has a 0 ERA in 3 career starts against Arizona, 2 of which happened this year.
Yep.
Most recently on August the 8th, he went 7 innings and allowed 0 earned runs. And come to think of it, that was his last start.
I just pulled him up. When you said that, I just went ahead and pulled him up. 148. Arizona Diamondbacks are hitting 148 against Snell. 248 on base percentage. How about this for a slugging percentage? 174.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I just got to say I'm really impressed with the umpire and his brother being a lefty. That's just some great stuff, Tony. That's great stuff.
Well, I have a really nice program that gives me umpires against starting pitchers and umpires when they're paired up and how they've done too. And while that software, I don't pay much here. Listen, we really have to deal with robots now. The newbies that are coming in, these umpires, they're graded. Their livelihoods are based on being graded by the K zone. The guys like Wolf tonight, or Joe West, or the dinosaurs that still exist in Major League Baseball, they're grandfathered in. They could give a crap, but most of them want to get home, and most of them are all either they're neutral or they're pitcher free.
What's the line you're seeing on that, Tony?
For the game?
Yeah.
It's Snell's $1.80 or -1.5, -125, or an 8.5. Listen, it's 8.5 a heavy over. I recommend it in my write up that there's no reason to hurry on this because it's not going to go to an 8. If anything, it's going to go to a 9.
So I'll give this plus 100 at 8.5.
It is exactly what it is. That's exactly the number I gave out. 8.5 under even money.
Awesome. And Jim Wolf has umpired 636 games at the Major League Baseball level. The average strikeout recorded in these games by both teams has been 14.5 over those 636 games. But recently, to your point, Tony, 19.5 strikeouts now on average per game. Last 3 seasons, 19.5. Right. Pretty darn consistent.
Really, really consistent. This is a guy that has had of active umpires, guys. Active umpires, 300 and 300. Let me get pulled up exactly, but he's a top 386 home plate assignments in his career, which is in the top 25. Guys like Barrett, Meals, Jeff Nelson, Angel Hernandez, Tim Timmons, Doug Eddings, those old schoolers, the dinosaurs that are still around, yep. Chad Fairchild, Rob Drake, all those guys with 300 or more home plate. Right now, it was a tie the other day. Now it is dead tied. Bill Miller, Joe West, 436 home plate assignments in their careers.
And which one do you want behind the plate of those
Bill
two?
Bill Miller, absolutely. Unless I have an over, and my pitcher, start promising to buy Joe West Joe's Country and Western album. Maybe I'll take Joe West. Yeah.
Or Angel when you have the under.
Well, if you can predict Angel Hernandez, then you're a better man than almost any of us. So you never know what you're going to give Hernandez. Yeah.
He seems to be missing the. This is actually being objective. Hernandez seems to be missing the low and away pitch badly to right-handed batters.
Well, I will tell you this as well. Most of these guys have big strike zones. It's almost robotic for them as well as the newbies. But if there's one thing that happens to the older the umpire gets, the less low strikes he'll call because they don't, like any of us.
Yep.
We don't want to bend over. We get old. Damn, it's hurt. I'm hurt. And they just start standing up. And they're humans. We do the best we can to assess that part of the game. I was going to kick guys, people over my career that have told me when I tell them about the umpires, or I wrote back in the days before the K zone was even in existence back in the early 90s. I wrote a book. I call it a book. It was a pamphlet basically on umpires and their strike zones, and I was very successful with totals. Found a lot of advantages because I really focused on who was behind the plate, and I get a kick. They would tell me the umpire doesn't have that big of a factor, and I say, well, he may have as big a factor as your starting pitcher. In fact, he decides whether your starting pitcher is going to be successful on most occasions. So to say that they don't play a role, they play a huge role. And in fact, baseball has let them get away with so much over the years. These guys who were dinosaurs, Joe West, Country Joe West, and others, Jerry Meals, not so bad, but can be. And that is that they like to be the show, and they're not the show. The players are the show. But when given an opportunity, they take advantage of it and they become the show. And I find it. You think about it. We've talked about this too. How many head coaches in the National League have you ever seen thrown out of a game? And let me tell you something. They have to get thrown out of an NFL football game, you're going to have to almost accost the umpire. And I mean, not just accost him. You're going to have to, rip his shirt off and strip him naked before you're going to get thrown out. And they give Major League Baseball umpires so much power, and for the most part, I think that, and people will argue me, but I believe that ownership encourages it even sometimes, and that's because baseball can be kind of slow at times, and sometimes that Billy Martin act is entertaining.
You know what in my history of coaching baseball,
yeah,
if you thought the umpire blew a call and you went out and you were pissed, right?
Yeah,
you could say anything you wanted as long as it was along the lines that call was bad, with expletives interlaced between those words. As soon as you brought in the word "you," you were done.
Yeah, and not only that, today, if you can hold your temper and you're strong in temperament, you can go out as long as you don't tell. You can go out there and say this. You can go out, listen, I'm not going to argue balls and strikes with you because that you missed that pitch that just came in. I'm going to argue. I'm going to tell you what a bad person you are, what a miserable human being you are, that your wife and kids don't like you, and none of your neighbors think you're worth a shit. As long as you don't argue balls and strikes, it's you're not supposed to, unless you basically maybe you shouldn't say something about the wife.
As long as you don't say your call sucked.
Yeah,
that'll get you thrown out instantly. Yeah. Those 3 words.
Yeah.
At pretty much any level. I never did it when I was coaching 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
I guess there was a good reason for that, I guess. But seriously,
I've seen them run off field.
But you know what? I don't want to have the strike zone square determine the outcome of a baseball game. I want that umpire back there screwing up, trying to do his job. It's part of the game. And as managers, you deal with it. As players, you deal with it. That's why players look back now almost with respect and say, they swing and miss. Was that a strike?
See,
and they're entitled to do it because then they know where the hell the strike zone is.
John, yes. Also, those who are listening, if you don't think a pitcher knows who's umpiring, what their strike zone is, what their trends are and their tendencies are, if you don't think they know those things, then you're being naive. They know. They absolutely know. They have nicknames for umpires. Jerry Meals, nickname. You know this, John. What is it? It's bread box. Why do they call him bread box?
Tight.
That's the size of the strike zone.
Yep, like this.
And here's the deal. When your pitcher knows these things, then you have to have a game plan for that. As a pitcher, you have to know, well, okay, he calls a low ball. He calls a high, gives me a high. You have to. That's part of your job is to, pitch to what you do know, what you pitch to not only your skill set, but to the conditions. And let's call it conditions, the conditions of the game, which is the strike zone, and every umpire is different.
And then based on that zone, you match it up against the hitters.
Hit strengths, charts. Yeah. Then you're really then you're a step ahead. Yeah, exactly. You see these guys pulling out these cheat sheets all the time out of their pockets and looking at them. I don't know why they do that. I mean, I would hope that if I'm paying you, $10 million a year, that you can look at us, you can spend an hour on the cheat sheet before you get to the game and remember it. But maybe I'm wrong.
We use signs, Tony. Even signs like this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like it was easy to kind of
like this.
Oh.
That's my sign.
So our free picks, to recap for the show. Jacksonville money line from Jimmy Adams on a pre-recorded show.
Very good.
Then we have, and if that does, there is a caveat to this. If you wake up tomorrow or you listening to the show now, and it's -3, Jimmy said, then take the -3. So the money line is about 145 right now at 2.5. If it goes to 3, then he says in preseason football, since there's no overtime, and you have to go for 2, then you take the money line at anything south of 3 points.
Agreed.
Then we have Packers from Mad George here, which, by the way, guys, he's in Greece, and he is hung in there like a giant because it's now 1:11 in Greece time, and I know we don't want to hear any stories about Tony Finn's life at 1:11 a.m. in Las Vegas. At least not tonight.
Sure you do.
Maybe the next show.
Yeah, maybe. I'm certainly have just as good at amphetamines in Greece as they do here in Las Vegas.
We should test that. I could do the analytics on it.
I'm in. As I said, people ask me, "Did you get vaccinated?" I said, "Well, what do you think? You got a line giving away free drugs? You better believe I'm in that line."
And then Phillies over 8.5 is my pick down there at the whatever that thing is called, the Sandbox in Philadelphia there in South Philly, and cheesesteak heaven. And their cheesesteaks are awesome. I'm not putting that down. I mean, I would do that right now. And then we have Tony Finn 8.5 under in the Arizona Diamondbacks game.
Yes, sir.
Featuring Blake Snell.
And
I think that covers it.
And Mad Bumgardner.
Yep. Yeah. MVP of the World Series and Snell and Cy Young.
Yes.
Sounds like a 3-2 game to me.
Well, I'll live with that.
I still can't believe I was on the Arizona Diamondbacks last night, which I told you when we went off air. I could not believe I scored this morning. I just, what?
Yeah. One of those moments.
Yeah, it is one of those moments. That's all it is, and that is all it means. But
they were pretty good yesterday. Well, they did. Well, let me say that was
they're pros. They're pros. At any given day, they can act like the Yankees.
That's correct. I mean, I was on a game that wasn't really close. I had one game yesterday, and I was trying to beat Ohtani. Ohtani was great.
Next week we'll talk about him being MVP.
Yeah, well, it's hard not to give him a vote as being one of that player. More than just that player. More about listen. You can just see it. He's the kind of guy that is not that hard to warm up to. If you watch him play, you watch him smile. He's polite. You've yet to see him. You probably never. He may be one of those guys you never ever see thrown out of a baseball game ever, or even argue too much. Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of the show, guys, and it's been a hell of a week here. We're 30-10 the last 12 shows on this 30-10 for 75% with our best bets over the last 12 shows.
Well, I'll try to do better. I'll do 25% next week.
We'll try to keep this going as long as we can. So, Matt, George, thanks for your time. Thanks for sticking in there. We know it's really late there in Greece. I appreciate it very much.
Many thins, George. Many thins.
And behalf of
you, gentlemen,
Finn WagerTalk, Matt George Sports, John Ryan Sports 1, and WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com, in this series of Predictive Playbook shows at Manny's Irish Pub. May all the wins be yours.